A tantalizing blockbuster trade idea involving the New York Jets and the Green Bay Packers, plus front office shakeup. Massive news coming last night. Let's roll, baby.
Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor?
But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby. For me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Hey, what's poppin', everybody? Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for HeavyGashDarn.com, baby. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe on YouTube if that's how you're watching. We appreciate your support. So we've got a juicy Jets-Packers blockbuster trade. If you want to skip ahead in class, read ahead. The full article is in the YouTube description down below. We'll get to that. But always the Jets in this breaking news. Always news. It's February early. What's happening here? I'm not complaining. I'm a content creator, of course. But let's get into this from Connor Hughes last night. An absolute bombshell in the New York Jets front office. Here it is. We'll throw it up on the screen here. Well, Chad Alexander, the Jets director of player personnel, is leaving to take a promotion as the Chargers assistant GM, sources tell SNY TV. Alexander will be a GM in short order. This is Hughes now. He's a rising star in front office world, spent 2 decades with the Ravens before joining Douglas in New York. The two work closely together. Let me give you the deets here. Okay. So I've met Chad Alexander on several just football occasions at the Hall of Fame. He was sitting by Douglas. Like, he's literally his left or right-hand guy and always right there for him. I just want to say this. I don't blame Chad one iota for doing this for several reasons. First off, it's a promotion. You got to accept those in the business. And think about where the Jets are. Again, I'm the most optimistic Jets fan on the planet, so I think great things are coming. Playoffs, Super Bowl, all that's on the table in 2024. But let's be honest, if it doesn't work, everyone's getting fired. So for Chad, he's sitting there like, do I stay here or promotion opposite coast? Weather, not bad. But do I jump over there? And all of a sudden, I start fresh. I'm with a brand new regime. I got Harbaugh, I got the new GM who he had a relationship with from his Ravens days. Like, there's all of that happening for Chad. Now, again, he became an assistant GM in this new role that he's being hired for the Chargers. The Jets had an assistant GM role available because Rex Hogan was gone. So the assistant GM role was vacant, and the Jets could have promoted Chad Alexander to assistant GM. That would have been a promotion to keep him in-house. They chose not to do it. So Chad is gonzo. Chad is heading over to the West Coast to join the Chargers. And as I will back up just to show the above tweet here from Connor, the Jets now have a vacancy at both assistant GM, that was Rex Hogan, and director of player personnel, that was Chad Alexander. This is Connor Hughes. The two men were Douglas's right and left hands. Will be interesting to see how they're filled. Now, here is the take here on this. On one hand, you're like, boy, everyone's jumping ship left and right. Everyone, the entire front office is blown up. I tweeted out the Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air gif. He goes in the living room like, where the hell is everybody? Whoa, where's everybody? The front office is like gonzo for the New York Jets. But I think the thing here is that it might be good news because Joe Douglas might need some fresh minds in the room. Again, there's been a lot of hits. The 2022 draft, that's a classic album. I'm listening to every track on the album. Okay, I like what I'm hearing. That's great. And then there's been Michael Carter II in the 5th round. There's been a waiver wire claims. Like there's been some goodness happening here. But maybe a fresh perspective is not too shabby heading into this draft process. Now, despite what it may seem like, they're pretty deep in the draft process. The draft is 3 months away. So there's been a lot of action that's happened to this point in terms of that development stage. But interesting, to say the least, that the entire front office popping there. All right. We'll get more into your questions at the end of the show. Let's get to the promised. The Blockbuster Jets-Packers trade proposal. I saw this come across my desk, and I went, whoa. Now, that's spicy. A lot of people have been bringing up a potential trade down for the New York Jets. Here is the Blockbuster trade down. Again, full article in the YouTube description down below. Let me throw this up on the screen here. Let me throw this up. Here it is. Here is the trade proposal, because there's a lot going on. Here's the trade proposal between the New York Jets and the Green Bay Packers. Here's what the Jets would receive. A 2024 first-round pick, number 25 overall. A 2024 second-round pick, number 41 overall. A 2024 third-round pick, number 91 overall. A 2025 second-round pick, and veteran offensive tackle David Bakhtiari. That's the package Green Bay would be sending to the Jets. Wow. Again, massive picks this year, picks next year, and hell, the dart throw of David Bakhtiari. More on that in a minute. And what would the Jets give up? The 10th overall pick. So I assessed this on the NFL draft value chart. The Packers would be clearly overpaying with what they're giving. Again, a first, a second, a third, a second, plus a player. They'd be totally overpaying. According to the draft value chart, the combinations of those picks are worth 1,766 points. The Jets' 10th overall pick is only worth 1,300 points. That's a massive differential. Plus, the Jets get a player. Now, let me explain. Not everything is always aligned. Just because the draft value chart says A doesn't mean that's exactly what you're going to get on draft day. Sometimes you could get more. There's desperation. There's a player you're not expecting on the board. Sometimes you get less. There's not a lot happening, and a team's desperate to trade down, so they take less than face value on the draft value chart. So it's not always exact. However, it's a nice guideline, especially for us during the offseason, trying to assess what's a fair deal, what's a not fair deal. So this was proposed by Bleacher Report. Okay, Bleacher Report threw this out there. And here's the thing, quickly on Bakhtiari. If the Jets acquire Bakhtiari, either he gets cut, which I've heard that's a very real possibility, or he gets traded here for peanuts. You can't rely on him as a starter. You can't acquire David Bakhtiari and go, whew, booyah, left tackle's done. Like, you definitely cannot do that. He's just been too injured. There's too many injury issues. Now, having him as part of the room, sure, why not? He's Aaron Rodgers' friend. It's a position of need. Bring him in to compete. Take a dart throw to see if he can stay healthy, like vet minimum, low money. He wants to hang out with Rodgers, so I mean, there'd be an intrigue to continue his career here in New York. And again, if he's healthy, all of a sudden you get a surprise All-Pro for an unbelievable price. Maybe give him some contract incentives for staying healthy. Maybe we can do something like that. So I'm fine taking the dart throw. To be honest, he's probably going to get cut. So in this trade, obviously, he's not even factoring into the value at all. But Avatar asked, why would the Jets take on Bakhtiari's contract? Obviously, a renegotiation would be part of the deal. If not, you would just wait for him to be cut. So that would be a part of this deal, in theory, is that they would shred up the contract and make it anew as part of the deal. That would be it for the Jets. But again, you could just wait for him to get cut and figure it out on their own. But they would never take that contract as is. It's an absolute albatross of a contract. But the draft picks, which would be nice, and apparently, so here's where we get funky. So, like any Jet fan, I assume will see that and go, yes, sign me up. Want all the picks? Sure, throw Bakhtiari in, that's great. Here's the problem. So you may ask yourself from the reverse side, what in God's green earth would Green Bay be trading up for that they want to give up these kinds of assets? Well, according to Bleacher Report, what the Green Bay Packers, would be attempting to do is moving up for an offensive tackle. Now, if you're the Jets, you think to yourself for a second, so we're going to trade back a bunch of spots, get a bunch of picks, of course, that's great, first, second, third, second extra, like a lot more lottery tickets, but we're going to help Green Bay protect Jordan Love with a blindside protector instead of simply staying put and drafting a blindside protector for 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Now that's where we get funky, because all these trade back scenarios, the Jets are likely punting, waving the white flag on getting one of these primo offensive linemen. Now, if you're fine with that second tier, right, the third tier, whatever that is, Fuaga, Tyler Guyton, Morgan, like you're going deeper and deeper and deeper down the list, like beyond the Joe Alts and Fashanus, you're punting on that possibility with any sort of realistic trade back. Again, this one is dramatic from 10 to 24 or 25, whatever it is, with all the other picks. So it's a massive drop off from that perspective of what you'd be getting, but you'd be getting a haul. So you gotta weigh it. Now, again, we did a prior video on this a couple weeks ago. The shortest distance the Jets can travel, according to the draft value chart, again, like I said, things can change on draft day, but the shortest distance they can travel and recoup a second-round pick is 17th and 18th overall. 17th, you'd have to give a sweetener back to equate the value, but 18th overall, it would be straight up. It'd be basically straight up 10, 18, first, second. Boom, done. Now, that works on paper. The Bengals would also have to be interested. They'd have to be moving up for a player. There's a lot of factoids that are involved, but that's the shortest distance they can travel to recoup a second-round pick according to the value chart. But again, you'd be missing out on some of those tiers. So that's the part that I struggle with, because on one end, I do want to recoup a second-round pick at a minimum, but in this deal, you're getting obviously a lot more. So I'd like, in a perfect world, to recoup that second-round pick, but also you may be passing up on blue-chip talent. Joe Alt, could he be there? A lot of people say no. Olu Fosu, will he be there? I don't know. But some people believe he can. A lot of the mock drafts I've been seeing, Olu Fosu is constantly on the board for the New York Jets. Plug and play left tackle. That excites me. That it does. Joe Alt, that excites me. I'm really excited about that possibility. Again, the Jets have 5 draft picks in this class. They do not have a second-round pick. But they have 5 picks in this class. They're expected to get 3 comp picks. That'll be next month, new league year. They're all expected to be 7th rounders. So that would increase your overall package to 8 picks total. You're allowed to trade comp picks. That's a recent new NFL rule change. Before you could not. Now you can. So those are assets to be used, package up potentially, move up for guys or move around. Use as sweeteners as part of trades potentially to make something happen. Plus, of course, any other trades, that veteran trades, things of that nature could certainly factor in for the New York Jets. So there's a lot of different guys in there. William brings up Patrick Paul. That's one that Jordan Reed of ESPN NFL Draft Analyst. I tweeted out several videos from the Jets. Ethan Greenberg interviewed a bunch of draft analysts down there and kind of got their take on players. He mentioned Patrick Paul. I've heard him in the second round, but maybe, they can rise on up and get other guys. So that could be possible. Phil here. He says, Green Bay knew when to cut Rodgers loose, then he gets hurt. Bakhtiari could be the same thing. Stay put, pick one of those top 3 offensive linemen. I don't know if Green Bay knew when to cut Rodgers. They wanted Rodgers back if he wanted to be back, and then he got the sense that they were kind of, whatever, and he went, nah, I'm out. And then he got out. Bakhtiari, I mean, they are way past cutting him loose. Again, he's played like 30, or he's missed 36 games in the last 3 years or some wild stat. I probably have it in the article down below, but like, Jesus, good Lord. That is, yeah. So again, it's a dart throw. You can't count on him as a starter in my mind, David Bakhtiari. If you bring him in, sure, why not? But no, I don't think you can rely on him fully for that. But the part I like is grabbing one of those top offensive linemen, just bang it out. Booyah. You got it immediately. Plus, of course, free agency comes before the draft. You need to be very adept at free agency and highlighting the guys. Is it Tyrant Smith at left tackle for the Cowboys? I'd love that. Is it Michael Onwenu, the New England Patriot? Double dip. Patriots, help yourself. That is on the table. That's another guy that I like a lot. People brought up Trent Brown. He's a big bastard, but sometimes the effort, sometimes the weight issues. That could be Mekhi Becton 2.0, potentially, which could rub a lot of people the wrong way. So that's another one that gives me the heebie-jeebies on that. Let's see. My father jumping in. Trade back, get the draft capital, too many holes to fill. I think the holes are this, and we'll reiterate this. You got backup quarterback. That's a hole. You have, of course, the offensive line. And then it depends on specifically what, because of is ABT playing guard or tackle, who's playing where and what. But offensive line, obviously, which is multiple positions, but offensive line. Okay. You need another wide receiver, maybe 2 wide receivers, a couple of pass catchers. You need more. Alan Lazard was a disaster, and you got a couple of UDFAs and Xavier Gibson and Jason Brownlee. How much can you count on them? Those are probably back end of the roster guys. So you got Garrett Wilson. Nice. Now you need a 2-3. And Lazard could be a rotational 3. Plus, you got to account for injuries. Because, like, if you only get one guy, let's say, I don't know, you draft somebody at 10 or trade for a guy or something. Devontae Adams, let's just say, right? You got Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard. One of those top 2 guys gets hurt. All of a sudden, Alan Lazard is right back where he was last year. Yikes. So, but a boop, 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 shift him a little bit on that depth chart. I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. So let's shift him down a little bit. That's what I would say. So again, needs backup quarterback, offensive line, you bet. Wide receivers, 2 or 3, need some of that. Another tight end in the room, another running back in the room. Yeah. Then you go to defense. You got to figure out the safety position. We'll be doing that later on Boy Green Meets Woody on Tuesday, actually. We're doing special teamers today. But Tuesday, we're talking about safeties. The Jets have 3 safeties that are set to be a free agent. You got Jordan Whitehead, Ashton Davis, Chuck Clark. What are you doing there? No idea. Corners. Michael Carter II and DJ Reed are heading into contract years. Cornerback is a sneaky need because, again, you don't draft for today. You draft for tomorrow. So you're always thinking 1, 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. Linebacker, right? CJ Mosley's getting up there. You got Quincy, but CJ's getting up there. Is Zaire Barnes the answer? I don't know. I haven't seen anything from him. And then interior defensive line. You got a bunch of free agents. Al Woods, Solly, Quentin Jefferson. Are you bringing some of those dudes back? You're getting new veterans? What's happening there? So there's a lot to figure out for the New York Jets, but I don't think they're a million pieces away. They're a couple of strong, important pieces away. I think that would be the best way to say it. All right, let's keep going through your comments here. Dylan says, I would love to see the Jets extend DJ Reed. Couldn't agree more. Same thing for Michael Carter II. You can lower the cap. Now, that's more important for DJ Reed than Michael Carter II because he's making like no money. So when you give him an extension, you're probably going to have to pay a little bit more on the cap now. Unless you really structure that deal as a backloaded deal, potentially. Maybe you can get even a little bit less on MC2, but he's making like nothing this year. So DJ Reed, MC2, both would be nice extend candidates, and you could push that money down for the future. I think that is what happened. Yeah, and as Brian says, good point, Boy Green. Lazard moving back to that spot after a possible injury is like us relying on Zach last year when he should have sat. Again, the thing I don't understand, and if I ever get Robert Saleh on the show, that'd be great. Robert Saleh said last year the Jets wanted to sit Zach Wilson, but Aaron Rodgers got hurt and they had no choice. That's not true. They did have a choice. As soon as Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, and in the moment, sure, Zach Wilson had to play in that Week 1 game, but then immediately the New York Jets should have gone and grabbed a veteran quarterback so Zach Wilson could still rest and relax, develop and sit and watch everything. The Jets could have done that. They did not. So they didn't have to, our hands were tied. We had to play Zach Wilson. No, you didn't. You could have went to Zach Wilson in the moment, which they did, and then say, okay, let's go get a veteran. Remember, Zach, we told you we need you to get your redshirt year and just sit out. And it is what it is. But, yeah, that's the thing that still gets stuck in my crow a little bit. That's another good point from Frank. He says, remember, we should have A-Rod thrown to these receivers, so all of them should be better by virtue because of Rodgers. That's true. But I just want more insulation for injury because you have Garrett Wilson. He's going to be a freak. You have Alan Lazard, who has to be better by default, I would assume, through with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. And then, like I said, you got a couple of UDFAs, but how much are you relying on those guys? I don't know. That one is... That one is unclear, but I need more proven guys. Give me a superstar like T. Higgins, Pittman Jr., Evans, Calvin Ridley, whoever. A strong number 2, and then get me a random veteran too. Not Randall Cobb. Let me just clear that up. Not Randall Cobb. That's what I'm looking for that. Michael says extend Mosley. Yeah, he's another guy going into his contract year. We'll see. Remember, he doesn't have as much tread on the tires as it appears because year number 1 with the Jets, he gets hurt, basically doesn't play the whole year. Year number 2, COVID opt-out. So, like, he's not as old as he appears. That could be another one. Michael Pratt, Tulane. I've heard a lot of good things about him. Intriguing quarterback prospect. We will actually be doing a quarterback-ish kind of show on Sunday with Ty Butler. Super Bowl Sunday, so keep an eye out for that. We're going to talk about the quarterback situation, drafting, developing, what's that kind of look like. So keep an eye out for that. William will be on Sunday's Boy Green Daily, Sunday morning, 7:30, Ty Butler, because there are some takes to be had for that. Johnny, all I want for the Jets is to be in the playoffs. The playoffs? Let's go. Jets, skip class. LOL. Yeah. Jets are going to be in the playoffs next year, buddy. Book your friggin' ticket. Book it, pal. It's happening. Jets are going to the playoffs. And shoot, as we were talking about with Nick Mangold yesterday, I hope you guys could check out that interview. If you did not, we had Nick Mangold on the show. You could check it out in every platform I have. It's on my Boy Green Daily audio podcast, if you prefer that. It's like 45 minutes. I can't believe he gave me so much time. That was very generous. We have it in our live section and our video section. So, I mean, literally anywhere on the channel, you can find a link to Nick Mangold stopping by yesterday. An awesome conversation. We got into so much stuff. So shout out to Nick Mangold. That was so cool. First time I ever talked to him. Really nice guy. Let me see. Is there any final questions or comments I can get to here? Also, if you guys are joining in late and you're like, what's this Jets-Packers trade all about? It's in the YouTube description down below if you guys want to catch back up on that or rewind the video, I guess. But the Jets-Packers trade thing that we were talking about is in the YouTube description down below, whether you're watching live or after the fact. All the juicy deets are right in there. But basically, the gist is the Jets trading back, which is something everyone's talking about, to recoup picks, trade back, and, just, try to see if you can recoup some picks, get some more lotto tickets. But again, when you trade back, you miss out on ops for some of the blue chip talent, if any are going to be available that way. Father, who's a Dallas Cowboys fan, he does not like Tyrant Smith potentially coming to the Jets. I think you should just get used to it because it's happening. I want Tyrant Smith. Plug and play left tackle, baby. All right, let's answer some quickies here. Dylan, would you personally give Huff a 3-year, $70 million extension? What's that? What's math on that? That's right in the ballpark, probably, for me. That's probably right in the ballpark, I would say. 3 years, $70 million. That's right in the ballpark. Now, here's the thing that I would ask old Bryce Huff here. Yeah, 23.3. That's the franchise tag, basically, on a 3-year deal. The thing I would ask is Huff taking that? And you may say, like, what? That's crazy. Like, what is the number for Huff? I'm going to be honest. I think there is a 0% chance that he re-signs before free agency because it just doesn't make any sense. At the very least, you want to test your market and see what happens. Go to the open market and a bidding war could ensue for your 25-year-old premium pass rushing Patuki. So Jet fans, let me lay it all out on the line. I don't think they sign him before free agency because why would he do that? That just makes no sense. Apparently, from everything we're hearing, they're not going to franchise tag him. Put that one aside. And then you get to the open market where, again, I reiterate, a 25-year-old pass rusher. I just don't feel great about him coming back because I feel like he's looking for the bag, as he should be. Good for him. He should be chasing the money. He was a UDFA, signed for 3 years, $2 million and change. Last year played $4.3 million, 1 year restricted free agent tender, and now he's getting the bag. And sometimes players never reach this point in which we're talking about. So I don't blame him at all for going to chase the bag. He should be chasing the bag, and I'm rooting for him. I've had him on the show before. Really nice guy. We have a good relationship. I like Huff a lot. So would I be willing to do it? That'd be around the ballpark. I need to have to see structure, I guess, Dylan, to see what that looks like and what does it mean? Because there's what is the word? there's cost to everything. What's the acquisition cost? Okay, we get him, but what does that cost in the future? Is that does that affect a Garrett Wilson contract? Does that affect a Sauce contract? Who does that affect? What does that mean for Will McDonald? Where does he fit into the mix? Because you got to get your number 15 overall pick there. Those are questions, pal, but interesting question. Someone just asked a Tyler Boyd question. Where is that? Oh, here it is. Patrick on YouTube. What do you think of Tyler Boyd instead of T. Higgins? Well, he'd be far less cheaper. Far cheaper. Yeah, he would be. Tyler Boyd would be far cheaper than T. Higgins. Former Pitt product. So I saw him in ACC country out here. He's the kind of guy that I wouldn't want as the superstar, obviously. But if he's wide receiver 3, okay, Tyler Boyd. That's what he was in Cincinnati for a large part of his career. I'm all aboard Tyler Boyd. Really nice guy. He doesn't have the sex appeal, I'm sure, that other fans would be looking for. But, while I love the sex appeal and that stuff is fun, Tyler Boyd would be wildly effective. And, he's probably playing in the slot for the Jets. Okay, you have Garrett outside, slot, Boyd, and then who's the other boundary? I don't want Lazard being the starter on the other boundary. I want him being one notch lower on the depth chart in a perfect world. But I like Tyler Boyd. That's a good call. I have not heard Tyler Boyd's name when we're doing these free agency shows or questions. So that's a good one. I like mixing that up. Very nice. Johnny, how about we bring in King Henry? He might want something like $8 million a year. After the show's over, I'm tweeting out a video from Badlands. They talk about running back. $8 million a year is too aggressive. I don't think the Jets have that in the budget for King Henry. I think he'd be better fit for my father, quite frankly, in Dallas. Pollard's a free agent. Plug King Henry in down there. I want a running back because Connor Rogers explains it beautifully. I'm going to tweet out the video right after the show so you guys can check it out on Twitter at BoyGreen25. Connor Rogers said exactly what I've been saying for a long time. I want the best possible number 2 behind Breece, but he's behind Breece. Like, Breece is the straw that stirs the drink, and I want a guy that when Breece is not on the field, because he's not going to play 100% of the snaps, I want the best possible guy for the cheapest possible price. And, easier said than done, of course. But there's a lot of big names in free agency. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, like Tony Pollard. Like, there's a lot of big names of ages and youth and experience and things of that nature. And there's even more names than that, but that's just off the top of my head. Like, I want Austin Eckler's another name on that list. Is one of those guys not going to get paid? Or all of them, maybe. But is one of those guys not going to get paid? And he's like, okay, where can I ring chase? And where can I be in a situation where I'll be a role player and I'm not going to get a lot of tread on my tires? The New York Jets. Breece Hall's going to get the rock 99% of the time. But the other 1%, it's not going to be that stark of a difference. But for the most part, right? Like, I don't know, 75% to 20%, 70% to 30%, whatever the snap percentages is. I want a really good number 2 running back. And a lot of people keep telling me Izzy's unproven. He has questionable pass blocking. He had 70 yards rushing last year or something. Like, what the? No, I'm not relying on that guy to be RB2. Be RB3, change of pace splash. If someone gets hurt and he proves himself, okay. But I'm not going in the next season with Izzy as RB2. I think not. So I want a proven veteran guy that's been there, done that. And hopefully they'll take a little less money maybe and come to the Jets and make things happen. So TBD, we'll see. But King Henry, no. No, I do not think so. I know people made the Titans connection, said, oh, hey, oh. I don't think so. I think he goes to a place like Dallas. All right, let me see. Let me see if I could get any last questions in here. Yeah, and I want to address this because, Jared, so you think that Huff should get almost best somebody. I know a lot of people get freaky when they see this guy and this money, and they're like, what about this guy? It's the NFL, baby. It's the NFL. There's a market increase. So, again, I view Bryce Huff like a souped-up Carl Lawson, but better. Souped up, right? Carl, on the open market, got 3 years, $45 million, $15 million per year average. That was a couple of years ago. That's 3 years ago, okay? Now, Huff is going to reach free agency. So even if Carl Lawson was dropped into free agency, which, by the way, he is, but older. But if you dropped the same age Carl Lawson from 3 years ago right now in free agency, he would get more than the 3 years, 45. There's a market increase. The number then, yesterday's price is not today's price, right? So the price of Carl Lawson in 2021 is not the price of Carl Lawson in 2024. So there's a natural increase. So market increase on that. So again, I think Bryce Huff is a souped-up version of Carl Lawson. So by virtue, he's going to go from 3 years, $45 million a year, $15 million per to like 18 million just by nature of the same player. But here's the thing. So it's not just 18 million because Bryce Huff's coming off a 10-sack year. He's 25 years old. And there's the thing that wasn't there with Carl. People weren't saying, Carl, wow, he's not playing a bunch of snaps. Bryce Huff, he's getting the double-digit sack season, which Carl never had. Plus, he's not playing the snaps. So people are going to extrapolate the numbers, go, oh, young guy, this. And that's why I think we're going to get into the crazy. That's why I think we're going to get 20 million plus. That's where my line is. The projection by Dylan was a little richer than that, 23 per. I'm in the 20 plus per. That's where I think Bryce Huff ends up. I think that's where that car is parked in free agency. And I think people are going to be willing to throw that dough. We will see if I'm right or wrong, but that's what I believe. Market increase, better player, better production, young, and then the snap thing, which will intrigue teams to go, ooh, okay, if we do this and this and this, we can get that. So, yes, 20 million plus per year is what I'm anticipating for old Bryce Huff. That it is. So, yeah, you want to call that Nick Boat's money? Call that whatever kind of money you want. I think that is what's popping, baby. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Awesome show. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, and if you haven't, Nick Mangold, baby, is on the channel. Again, no matter which way you look at it on YouTube, we have it in our straight-up video section, our live section as well. Check it out in either place. Show your support. Nick Mangold's BBQ sauce. Again, I got some behind me. Make sure you order and support Nick friggin' Mangold, and hopefully we'll have him back on in the future. But the way that we can have him back on in the future is if you guys support the show, support the videos, and the numbers are great. Nick will be like, look at all that. I want to come back and support everything. So please, guys, it's all in your hands. Excellent. All right, tomorrow we have, what's today? Thursday? Tomorrow we got Italy Jet. We got my father on Saturday, plus Ty Butler on Super Bowl Sunday. We have all these wonderful 7:30 shows, plus later today, Thursday, Boy Green meets Woody. We'll talk about the specials, why the Jets need to run it back. Those are all key free agents. Hardy, Morstead, Zerline. All big news. Got to check it out. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back at 3 o'clock, and we'll see you then. God bless. Take care.